In Botting's work, he explains the aesthetics of the genre of Gothic horror. Botting speaks largely of the transgressions that are often present in Gothic works. He speaks that transgression involves a crossing of limits or breaking of taboos and rules. He also outlines the many other elements of what makes up a Gothic text, such as feminine sexuality and the importance of setting and creating the aesthetic of a Gothic text. Botting also outlines how Gothic texts should make readers feel, and the elements of Gothic horror help create that sense. Negative Aesthetics outlines how Gothic texts are created and why they give readers the uneasiness and fear that they do. Therefore, both Dracula and A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night is very relevant to it. Bram Stoker's Dracula has many elements that can be seen in Botting's negative aesthetics. In his work, Botting speaks much about transgressions. Dracula explores this through the idea of having characters come back to life, such as when Lucy Westenra comes back to life after she dies, giving the idea that for ghosts and vampires, death is not the final limit. This in itself has a profound effect on readers because it is something that is not natural. This effect is essential in Gothic texts. This effect on readers is also evident in Botting's writing when he states that the macabre repertoire of terror is designed to have disturbing effects on characters and readers' imaginations. The transgressions and otherness in the novel makes Dracula a horror text because it tends to frighten both readers and characters. Botting also makes note of the motif of being other or different in Gothic texts. He states that alternity constitutes an important and complex notion in relation to the monstrosity and transgression. Dracula largely explores otherness because of the increase in advancements and fears of the time. Vampires are used in Gothic texts to display the late Victorian fears sustaining colonialism and empire. This idea is reflected in Dracula when the villain Dracula comes to London from the east and is therefore depicted as a threat. Count Dracula was wanting to live in London and wreak havoc, therefore depicting the idea of colonisation. The motif of the threat of colonisation is an example of the way in which alternity is explored throughout the novel. The threat coming from the east is unknown and therefore considered as other. At the time of the writing of Dracula, it is also a time of increasing industrialisation. The increase of scientific advancement of the time made it seem that the boundaries crossed by science transformed the understanding of humanity's place in the natural world. This therefore allows for the fear of otherness to be very apparent in the late Victorian era. This advancement in science and other social issues saw a return to familiar Gothic monsters, composites for the sexual, racial, class, and cultural anxieties of the time. This is also evident in Dracula as it explores the otherness of the time. Botting also outlines many elements that appear in Anna Lilies Amirpour's A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night. In terms of setting, the film mirrors Botting's idea that settings in Gothic texts are located in isolated spots, areas beyond reason, law, and civilized authority, where there is no protection from terror or prosecution. Bad City is seen to be isolated because it never seems to be largely inhabited. It is also apparent in the name, Bad City, that this is a place without law or that civilized authority. A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night also goes against the ideals of feminine sexuality in Gothic texts. Botting describes in Gothic texts women are subordinated into a regime of ideas, values and practices, in which their position is demarcated as different from and less than males. However, in A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, this ideal is flipped, and the girl has more power over the men. as seen when she attacks and kills Saeed. In A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, the monstrous villain is the girl, which further underlines this ideal of the woman being more powerful than the man. The girl also doesn't have selfish desires and ambitions and has violent moods and intentions, like bossing out lines, but instead uses her power to protect the women and other innocent people of Bad City. This is evident when she protects Ati from Hassan, therefore again showing where A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night goes against these ideas of the traditional Gothic horror genre.